Hi guys, so I wanted to do a quick tutorial on this new Photoshop Basics worksheet that I have for week 2. So to download it, you just go ahead and click on this link and it should pop up down here. Okay, so this is what that worksheet looks like. I'm going to do Command plus to zoom in. And the first thing I want you guys to get used to using is just the basic shape tool. If this isn't how your workspace looks like, just make sure you come over to this workspace menu and then hit Essentials or Reset Essentials. Mine is the newest version of Photoshop, so it might look just a tiny bit differently. What I really care for is that you have your properties available at all times. So up at the top over here, or the middle is fine, and then your layers panel down here at the bottom. Color might be a collapse panel icon over here, and that's perfectly fine. Or you can put it up here as well. But let's go ahead and get started with using the shape tools. I like clicking these little double arrows here to make 2 columns. So your shape tool, this one's obviously an oval, and you won't find it immediately in your tools panel, so you just have to right click or click and hold, and you will find all of these hidden tools here. So for this one, I'm going to select the ellipse tool, and up at the top in the edit bar, you'll notice that you have some of these options when you change the tool that you're using. You can also find it over here in properties once you've laid down the object. But yeah, up here always, and then you might have your settings displaying down over here as well. But I'm gonna make sure that, actually I'm okay with that color. So I'm just clicking and holding. Don't worry too much about getting it perfect. Once you lay it down, you can switch over to your move tool, right? And then you can come in here and just resize it and position it if you want. I can always come over here in the appearance tab as well and change the color if I changed my mind. But yeah, that's basically the ellipse tool. This one's a perfect circle, so it'll have some notes for you down here. It says hold shift, so grab my ellipse tool again. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to click and drag. Go back to my move tool. And I'm going to hold shift when I'm resizing it just to align it. Once you make any changes, you'll have this like menu pop up over here. You'll notice that you can't move or like switch over. You can just hit enter or this little check mark up at the top, and it's just asking you to confirm those changes. Alright, so that's the tool here, adding strokes. Same thing, I'm going to grab my ellipse tool. This one's just no fill, stroke. Remember, the top color is your fill, the bottom is the stroke. It's also in your appearance if you don't see it. I can also come over to window and look for, there should be an appearance option, and I guess it's not popping up here, so probably because it's right here. Alright, probably have to drop it, but I don't want a fill, so I'm going to click on this, hit no fill, and then choose this right here, maybe 3 pixels, hold shift, there it is. Okay, and that's not thick enough, so there we go. Alright, a keyboard shortcut to make a copy is holding the Alt Option key on your keyboard, and you'll notice that 2 little arrows appeared. Make sure you click and hold Alt Option, left click and drag, there we go. And since it's the same size, it's just a dotted stroke. I'm going to come over to appearance with this still selected, hit this drop down here, and you should see a dotted option. And there we go. So I'll let you guys handle some of these basic ones right here, right? Like the square, but I do want to go over how to do rounded corners. So select the rectangle tool here. I don't want a stroke, but I do want a fill color. I'm going to hold the shift option to make a perfect square like this. And you'll notice that when you do that, you have 4 little squares that pop up right here. You can left click and hold to drag these little circles in, and it'll give you that rounded corner look. Okay, so that is how you do rounded corners. We'll move on over to working with layers. So you'll notice anytime you add anything over here, it'll pop up in your layers panel. If you don't rename anything, it'll just be left as is. But with working with layers, all you have to do is click and drag things to move them or rearrange the order, right? So let's start with this triangle here. Okay. Enter. And I'm going to make a copy of this one, put it right here. I'm going to hold shift while I rotate, so it rotates in perfect angles. And let's say I want to make this one darker. Oops. Enter. Okay. But in this picture below, right, it's this triangle that's above this darker one over here. And if you select it in your layers panel, it'll highlight in your canvas. So all I have to do is left click and drag this one above this layer here. And that changes the stacking order. So that's pretty simple. Let you guys recreate this one here. And this is the same, just you practicing with clicking and arranging things differently. The text or type tool, I'll do one for you guys really quick. So what I like to do is I just like to click once, right? It pops up my filler text. All I'm going to do is type. Ooh, actually, let me do the first one. So no spoilers here. This is my type layer that I just made. I'm going to trash that. I'll start with the lowercase. Left click once. Type lowercase. Now if I click and highlight all of these, you have the edit bar again that changes depending on the tool. Then I also have it in my properties panel over here. So I want you guys to change the font to whatever you'd like. Don't leave it as Myriad Pro. And you should see a little size or font size option here. I want to change that to, let's say 12 points. Nope, still too small. All right, 24 is fine with me. And once you leave that box there, right, I can come back here and resize stuff, or I can hold shift and it resizes proportionately. And that's basically how the type works. Now, this one's just wanting you to experiment with different options. So I'm going to hold Alt Option again. I'm going to drag this down so I don't make a new box. Highlight all this. And I actually don't have to go in there and hit caps lock or shift to make all of this caps. I can highlight all of this. And if I come to my character box over here, there's 3 dots right here. Oh no, type options. Here we go. So if you don't see it, you can always again come to window. There is the characters type options too. I'm going to do character because it pops up over here in this collapse panel. I always like having my type or character in a collapse panel like this so I can find everything. But you should see an option if you hover over these 2 capital T's, that's all caps. So I'm going to click that to turn that on. And now anything that I type in this type box here is going to be caps without me having to go in there and physically make it caps lock or hold shift. So that's all caps. Okay, so for the rest, you'll use this character box here to make those changes. So bold is simple, just make sure you have a font here that has the bold option. This one, this type I downloaded it, so obviously it has a bunch of them. All I have to select is the bold one. For the Y, this is your tracking. So character tracking, if you're not sure which one's tracking, hover over these and it'll give you the name. So this one right here says set tracking for selected characters. So this is where you would go to change this one here. For creating blocks of text, like I said, this one I just left click once. So I'm going to use my type tool. And for this one, I'm actually going to drop this down to like 12. This one's just having you practice left click and drag to make it the size of this box right here. Now remember, I have everything all caps, so I just have to come back in here and turn that off. And then for paragraph, I want it to align to the left, like so. And that's basically it for this one here. We'll go over this together or in another video. I did want to do the brush tools really quick, so brush tools right here. Oops, I'm in the needed to make a new layer. So for the brush tool, come down to your layers panel, hit this new layer button. Okay. And now you can use these brackets on your keyboard to make the brush smaller or bigger. Or you can come in here manually too, right, and change the size of it. But this one's saying a soft round brush, 100 point size, so pixels is fine. You can find soft round right here in these settings. I can also come to window and look for brush settings, and it'll make a collapse panel here as well. So up to you, whichever mode you want to work for, but you can come up here and look for soft round brush. It is 100 pixels. If you hold the shift key, left click and drag, it makes sure that you draw a straight line with the brush tool. This one's asking for hard round brush, 100 point size. So come back to these settings and find hard round and do the same thing. Okay. For this one, I'm asking you to change the opacity as you go. So by default, this one's set to 100, right? Oops, there we go. Okay, to drop the opacity, come over here to the top and you change it by using the slider, or you can come in here too and type 75, enter. Over here, type 50, so on and so forth. You're going to try it over here, right, with your own colors. So these colors here don't get in the way. With the brush, though, if the thing is that it's all in one layer, so I can't move things individually anymore. It's not like Illustrator that makes every object its individual layer. So if you're going to go back and move things around, make sure that you're making everything its own individual layer. But alright guys, so this is going to be the end for this video. Next video we're going to go over these framing photos. Before you leave this one, just make sure you find an image that you like, and we're going to use it for all of these.